with 3 examples of negative numbers that you might find in a newspaper, and all of the classes came up with great ideas. Temperatures that are really cold that are the opposite of warm, and sports could be a ranking loss, it could be a loss of yards in American football, it could be a score in golf under par, and money. Taking money out of the bank or a business losing money, all of those could be represented with negative numbers. And you came up with even more than that. We did a quick mental math, and I explained to you why we tack on this 0, because 50 is 10 times bigger than 5. So the answer to 7 times 50 is 10 times bigger than 35. And the same carried on for 70 times 500 and 7,000 times 50. And once we get to see this pattern, you can see that you can just count the decimal places. That's the beauty of placeholders and base 10. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, and 10 times 1,000 is 10,000. So really this answer is 10,000 times bigger than 35. But the easier way, rather than multiplying 10,000 times 35, is to just tack on the 4 placeholder zeros, and then you'll see it's 350,000, which is much easier to do mentally. Okay, then I just wanted to remind you that you need to do your homework on the day you have class. That way, if you have any trouble with it, you have the next day to stay after school. You can go to V22 Monday through Thursday for homework help, or you can come to my room. I'm almost always there. Wednesdays I have meetings, but you can't just say I don't understand. You need to get the help that you need. So then we began an activity. There were 16 phrases, and one person in the group kept track of positive numbers, another kept track of negative numbers, and another kept track of 0. And you guys did a great job with that activity. You understood words that represent positive numbers: deposit, putting something in, something after. Negative numbers were a loss, or being behind, or a drop in temperature, or below, and 0 were things that were neutral. And then I showed you my scientific calculators just to make sure all of you understood that the negative sign on the scientific calculator is a special key. You don't use the subtraction key, you use this key, and it's usually to the left of the equal sign. And there are 2 ways that are the best ways to say this symbol. And if I put that symbol in front of a 5, I would say -5 or the opposite of 5. What you want to avoid saying is -5, because then it gets confusing with subtraction. So we worked on that a bit. And then you all made a number line on your resource page, and then I went around and checked them, and they all looked like this. And we just reviewed inequalities. As you move to the right on the number line, whether you're on the negative side or the positive side, as you move to the right, numbers get bigger. And because of that, -9 is less than -2, because it is to the left, it's further away from 0. And -5 is less than -6. In fact, all negative numbers are less than positive numbers. And some of you had little ways to remember the alligator mouth always eats the bigger number, but you have to remember that if the little number comes first, then we say -9 is less than -2. And greater than is the opposite. 5 is greater than 1. 9 is greater than -2. And in fact, all positive integers are bigger than negative integers. And a lot of you noticed that this number line, where 0 is, that we have opposites that are equal distant from 0 on each side. And when you add 2 opposites, you get 0. And then you read an example about the elevation of New Orleans, which is 8 feet below sea level, and the elevation of Amsterdam, which is 18 feet below sea level. And you saw it on a number line, and we saw the inequality, and I wanted you to know why it makes sense that -18 is less than -8 in terms of this problem. And you guys did a great job with that, and what you came up with is 18 feet below sea level is lower than 8 feet below sea level. Then we also looked at vertical number lines, and we looked at 3 very cold cities and their temperatures in February. And my question was, why does it make sense that Duluth was the lowest? And you guys knew that it's the coldest with the lowest temperature. And then you learned something new, double inequalities, which is just a way to represent the relationship between three numbers. And what I told you is don't mix the inequality signs. -5 is to the left of 3, which is to the left of 6. And remember, the further to the left, the smaller you are, the further to the right, the bigger you are. So we could represent this double inequality, two inequalities, in this way. We can say -5 is less than 3, which is less than 6. Or we can go from big to small. We can say 6 is greater than 3, which is greater than -5. And that's how you read those double inequalities. And then we just did some practice problems, and this was about Tiger Woods, and he was 6 under par, and you guys knew to subtract 6 from 72, so Tiger's score compared to par was 66 is less than 72. His partner shot 2 over par, so we have to add 2 to 72. So his partner compared to par was 74 is greater than 72. And we could put all three of these together in a double inequality. We could say 66, Tiger's score, is less than 72 par, which was less than 74, his partner's score. And then we scaled a number line by fives. Remember, you always want to have equal intervals here. And you put these really cold temperatures on the number line. And -25 was less than -5, which was less than 5 degrees Celsius. And then you wrote a double inequality to represent that. Remember, if you scale by fives, then it's like skip counting by fives. And you must have all of these spaces represent the same amount. That's what equal intervals are. Then we did a fun activity. You got out of your desks and we did a mix, pair, share. On the mix, you walked around. When I said pair, you had to pair up with the person close to you. Then I asked a question and you had to think and then share with your partner. And you guys did an excellent job with this. So the first question is I gave you the population of the people in a given country, and I asked you which digit was in the 10 millions place, and you all shared 9. And then I gave you this number in words and asked you to write it out, and I heard you say 49000.3. And I gave you these temperatures and had you think of what double inequality could represent it, and I heard -12 is less than -7, which is less than 1. And I gave you this information about a little town at the base of a mountain and asked you which is a count and what is the counting unit. The meters is a measure, not a count. You can't count each specific meter. It's continuous measurement. The count was 1,822 and the counting unit was people. And then you put in the inequality signs here. So -7 is greater than -12. 5 is greater than -1. You had to arrange these into a double inequality. -3 is less than 5, which is less than 16. And then 1.8 or 1 and 8/10 is greater than -3 and 9/10. And then we looked at the project options on pages 61 to 62 because you will do a project for each unit. And we found that project 6 had part of the project involved a timeline and finding historical events and then putting them on a timeline with the Common Era on the positive side and BCE before the Common Era on the negative side. So we had to look at that. And then you have some practice problems to do for homework. Remember, you get to choose. The choices are on pages 14 to 16. If you choose the basic assignment, you do 2 through 14 and 17 through 20. And if you choose a challenge assignment, you do 5 through 16 and 19 to 22. Make sure you do your homework in pencil, fold your paper in half vertically, and work down the columns. Have a great weekend, and I hope to see you at the PTF barbecue today from 11 to 2.